Hello everyone, my name is Zenitsu and I'm back with another Digimon deck profile video. So today I'm going to be taking a look at EX4, and EX4 offers us lots of new and powerful tools to be able to build and iterate on some new and existing decks. And today's deck I'm going to be taking a look at is going to be a brand new iteration on the ChaosGallantmon deck. So while you could just take a lot of these new parts and pieces and just shove them inside of Gallantmon and be good to go from there, I figured with all of these new parts and pieces incentivizing us to want to try to utilize ChaosGallantmon, we actually could make a pretty interesting deck out of what we got, focused on his core theme on self-deletion and deleting your other Digimon for various benefits. So let's just dive right in and take a look at what he's got. So, starting things off with the Digitamas, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Gigimon. If you really wanted to, you could think about running a purple base, and we do have some other Gigimons that you can include, but I'm running this Gigimon and a red base, more so for the added consistency, so I can make sure I could try to find my parts and pieces as quickly and efficiently as I can, and the EX2 Gigimon allowing us to gain some card draw for us attacking with our Digimon just seems like the most desirable choice. Next, on to the rookies, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Guilmon. So this is the EX2 version of Guilmon, and this is going to be the deck's dedicated digging tool, allowing us to look for our Growlmons and Gallantmon based cards, on top of trying to help find our main tamer, which is going to be our Takato, while also having a nice inheritable ability for us to take advantage of to add some extra removal for the opponent's low-level Digimon. Next, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Guilmon. So this is the brand new EX4 version of Guilmon, and this is an absolutely insane card for this deck to run just because of the combo potential it has with a lot of our other parts and pieces, just because we're trying to not only fill up our trash, but the opponent's trash as well, which could turn the rush ability on this card online, acting as a really good aggressive tool for us to use in the mid to late stages of the game. And then the last rookie of the deck is going to be 4 copies of the EX3 Guilmon. So the EX3 Guilmon is the best cannon fodder for us to use when we're thinking about a card to sacrifice for some of our various other abilities, just because he does have an on-delete ability that's going to either A, delete the opponent's low-level Digimon, or B, be able to start trashing both ours and the opponent's deck. Next, on to the level 4s, I'm going to be running 2 copies of Growlmon. So this is a tech or flex spot for the deck, and it could really be anything you want it to be. So if you wanted to run something like the BT12 Growlmon, then by all means do so, because that card has some pretty good advantages to wanting to utilize that. On top of the fact that if you're running a purple base, we even have the BT5 BlackGrowlmon as just another good synergistic card for us to utilize. But I'm going to be sticking with the starter deck Growlmon because I really value the inheritable ability to try to make us as tempo efficient as we possibly can, rewarding us with some memory when we're deleting the opponent's Digimon, and we do have a lot of ways to try to delete the opponent's Digimon inside of the deck, making it one of the better level 4s for us to use. Next, I'm going to be running 4 copies of the brand new BlackGrowlmon from EX4. So this card does digivolve a little bit more efficiently on top of our Guilmons, which is why our low end is all Guilmons, on top of the fact that it has 2 really solid abilities we want to try to take advantage of. Its inheritable on delete ability just incentivizes us to get into our big level 6 and have it get deleted, and rewards us with trying to add some recyclability for our Guilmons and Growlmons and our Gallantmons. On top of the fact that its when digivolving ability also is trying to help it fill up not only just our trash, but the opponent's trash as well, for some of our various card effects to gain some good advantage off of. And then it also is going to allow us to try to recycle our Guilmons, Growlmons, or Gallantmons from our trash into our hand, making it very easy to make sure that we could always see what parts and pieces that we want and grab back what we need. And then the last champion of the deck is going to be 4 copies of Growlmon. So this is the EX3 version of Growlmon, and it's doing something very similar to what we just saw with our EX4 Growlmon, where it has a nice when digivolving ability that's either going to A, delete the opponent's low-level Digimon, or B, try to mill both of our decks, so that way we could utilize our trash as best as we possibly can. Then it also has a nice when attacking inheritable ability for us to use, where it's allowing us to be able to delete one of our Digimon to make sure that this Digimon has Security Attack Plus, so that way we could try to use our on-delete abilities on some of our other Digimon and use our low levels as cannon fodder, so that way when we're aggressing, we could try to make sure that we could push as hard as we possibly can and deal as much damage as we possibly can. Next, on to the level 5s, I'm going to be running 4 copies of the brand new EX4 BlackWarGrowlmon. So BlackWarGrowlmon can digivolve off of any Growlmon a little bit more efficiently than its actual digivolution cost, incentivizing us for utilizing our Growlmons. Then on top of that, its when digivolving ability is allowing us to not only trash the opponent's deck, but our deck as well, so that way we could try to get both of our trashes in a particular state to make our cards as effective as we possibly can. And what this card is benefiting off of for having a large trash is increasing the range in which it's able to delete the opponent's Digimon, starting with 3000 DP, and for every 10 in either player's trash, it increases by 2000. So the more cards that we both have in our trash, the stronger of a deletion effect this is going to be at removing the opponent's potential threats. And then the last ultimate of the deck is going to be 4 copies of WarGrowlmon. So I think this is probably the most important level 5 for the deck to run, just because its when digivolving ability, like what we just saw with BlackWarGrowlmon, is allowing us to trash our deck, but the opponent's deck as well. And the benefit that we're gaining off of this ability is the ability to be able to play either a Guilmon or Takato from our hand or our trash for free. So we could either A, set up our Tamer, or B, set up a Guilmon to use as cannon fodder, or in combination with the brand new Rush Guilmon, be able to bring out a Digimon to start swinging with right away. So it adds extra usability on our cards and making our setups for some of our combo plays even possible to begin with. Next, on to the level 6s, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Megidramon. So Megidramon is also counted as a ChaosGallantmon, so it works with all of our Gallantmon-based synergies, while also having 2 really strong effects. So its first effect when we digivolve up into this card is just a basic removal ability to try to delete some of the opponent's mid-level Digimon, on top of the fact that if no Digimon was deleted off of this effect, then it's just a lot of extra mill, so that way we could put our trashes into that particular state that we want to put them in. Then on top of that, its on delete ability is also pretty nice for us to use, where it's just allowing us to be able to play out our Guilmon or our Takato from either our hand or our trash for free, so that way we could use this either again to set up that Takato or replay a Takato if it was deleted or even milled, or if we wanted to and we needed to try to push for more damage and the opponent's trash is in a nice healthy state and ours is in a nice healthy state as well, that again gives us access at reviving that Rush Guilmon to put as much pressure and aggression onto the opponent as we possibly can, while this card also having some pretty beefy stats in his own right. And then the last level 6 of the deck is going to be 3 copies of the brand new ChaosGallantmon. So this can digivolve a little bit more efficiently on top of our WarGrowlmons, but most of the time we actually don't want to digivolve into this card, and we want to try to have him end up in our trash just because he does have an ability that activates in our trash, where at the end of our turn we get to delete one of our Digimon that has Gallantmon in its name to be able to play this card for free. So we do have to sacrifice our level 6 to be able to play a new level 6, but he does come with a nice on-play ability for us to try to take advantage of to be able to do exactly what the BlackWarGrowlmon we just saw is doing, where it's just trying to delete the opponent's Digimon starting with 7000 DP and then increase the range by 2000 for every 10 in either player's trash, so that way we could try to use it to delete the opponent's threat and trigger a whole bunch of on-delete abilities, like what we just saw with our Megidramon as the best target to use for our ChaosGallantmon to delete. And then the last Digimon and only level 7 of the deck is going to be one copy of Gallantmon Crimson Mode. So Gallantmon Crimson Mode is just an alternative win condition for this deck, just because, well, it's a Gallantmon by name, so we could use it in combination with our other Gallantmon-based synergies, on top of the fact that when we Digivolve up into him, he's going to delete the opponent's Digimon with the highest DP, so if they have multiple of the same DP, he's going to delete them all, acting as some really good removal, on top of the fact that when he's going to be attacking, one of the big rewards for at least trying to fill up the opponent's trash as best as we possibly can by milling their deck and deleting their cards is for him to be able to trash the top card of their security stack for every 10 cards in their trash, so he could potentially be a very powerful card swinging for the game and trashing all of the opponent's security. And then when it comes to the tamers, I'm going to be running 3 copies of Takato. So this is the EX2 Takato, and this is the better of the 2 Takatos that we currently have, just because when we're deleting the opponent's Digimon, he's going to be helping us by gaining us some extra memory to make our cards as tempo efficient as we can possibly make them, just because we do have a lot of ability to try to delete the opponent's Digimon. Then on top of that, the more important ability that we're going to try to gain out of this card is the fact that when we Digivolve into our Gallantmons or our Growlmons, it's going to allow us to be able to give them the Blitz ability so they can attack even if the memory goes over onto the opponent's side, so we could be as aggressive as we possibly can with our cards, even if we're not necessarily the most memory efficient with our cards at all times. And then the last tamer of the deck is kind of a tech or flex spot. I'm going to be using one copy of BT2 Matt Ishida, just because it's a purple tamer, so in the off chance that I'm caught in a situation without a purple card, I still want to try to utilize some of the purple options that I would be running in the deck, while he's also being a really good generic memory fixing tamer that allows us to try to have some recyclability for our purple Digimon and options, and this does count the 2 color Digimon that are part purple as cards that we could possibly use, so we could try to reuse the parts and pieces that are in our trash from either when they're getting deleted or they're milled, so we could grab back whatever we need when we potentially need it. And then as far as options go, I'm going to be running 2 copies of Red Memory Boost. So most of my cards and all of my Digimon are part red, which makes me want to run this card as just an extra way to be able to make my deck as consistent as it possibly can be by having alternative ways at being able to search and dig out our cards. Then on top of that, it also has a nice secondary main ability of delay to gain us to memory at a later turn to make more powerful follow-up plays with and to try to make our cards as efficient as we can possibly make them. Next, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Death Slinger. So Death Slinger is in the deck mostly for the fact that we are trying to use this as a mill trigger, just because we do have some decent passive mill at our deck as well as the opponent's. So when this card is milled from our deck, then we're going to be gaining a memory, so that adds a little bit of RNG aspect to the deck to try to make our cards as efficient as we possibly can when we're going to be milling. Then on top of that, it also is still just a pretty decent card in its own right, being one of the most efficient cheap removal cards, where it's allowing us to delete a level 4 Digimon, and for every 10 cards in our trash, we get to up the range of the level by 1, so that way the bigger our trash is, the more powerful of a removal effect this card becomes, while this also acting as a good security threat. Next, I'm going to be running 1 copy of Rivals Barrage. So Rivals Barrage is another card we're running more specifically for this card to try to be a good mill effect. So that way we could just throw it onto the battle area and have access at its delay ability to be able to add back a purple Digimon or Tamer from our trash into our hand, so it just allows us to use it like Matt to be able to grab back anything that we want and need when we need it if this card is already set up. But outside of the mill effect, trying to set up its delay ability, it's still just a really solid removal card, getting rid of the opponent's highest level Digimon on top of the security effect, also trying to get rid of the opponent's highest level Digimon, so that way our security is also a little bit more threatening. And then the last card and last option of the deck is going to be a really interesting tech card. That's going to be one copy of Win Rate 60%. So win rate 60%, we do have to have a tamer on the field in order to be able to utilize this card, because we're not running anything white in the deck. But regardless of that, we should have the ability to have a tamer on our field, and what this card is doing is just helping reduce the cost of our Digivolution by essentially 2, so that way we could try to make Digivolving into our mid to high level Digimon as efficient as we possibly can. The most important aspect of this card actually is the discarding a Digimon card from our hand in order to be able to use this card. So when we're just sitting with a ChaosGallantmon in our hand, we don't want to Digivolve into it, we want to try to get it into our trash. This is just one of the best ways to be able to get that card into our trash if it isn't already in our trash from our own mill effects. And then when it comes to the overall game plan and gameplay of the deck, we are basically just trying to build one big stack and to try to passively mill as we're digivolving up our stages, all the way up into our big level 6 that we want to combo with our ChaosGallantmon, which is going to be our Megidramon here. Just because he actually has an on-delete ability, we could trigger with our ChaosGallantmon wanting to delete another Gallantmon named Digimon, which Megidramon does fit that bill for. So as far as how we're going to be approaching stack building, it doesn't necessarily matter which level 3 that we're going to be using in our raising area, just because they're all Guilmons, and that's the primary thing we care about. Obviously, the best 2 is going to be the EX2 one, just because it actually has an inheritable ability, or if we just need to try to be aggressive and try to mill more aggressively, then we also have EX3, which has an on-delete ability, so we could start gaining some card draw off of our Gigimon to be able to start drawing extra cards and try to proc his on-delete ability ourselves by attacking into their security while also doing some nice passive chip. So for this example, I'm just going to be using the Searcher because it actually has the inheritable. Then when it comes to what level 4 that we want to use, again, it doesn't necessarily matter. Most of the time, we're going to want to try to Digivolve into our level 4 all the way up into our level 6 as quickly as we possibly can when we move out of raising. So if we move out of raising, we want to try to utilize the brand new BlackGrowlmon or the EX3 Growlmon, just because we want to try to use their abilities to passively mill. And we could use BlackWarGrowlmon if we mill something that's important for us to grab back. We actually have that ability to try to grab that important piece back. So the best card that we're probably going to want to use also as a good inheritable is the BlackGrowlmon, just because it actually does have an on-delete ability, allowing us to do more when our Megidramon does get deleted. But the other 2 are still really good depending on the type of stack that you're going to be building, just because they do synergize very nicely with the BlackWarGrowlmon and the WarGrowlmon respectively. So if you're going to go into your starter deck Growlmon, then the BlackWarGrowlmon is going to be the best one, just because we're going to be deleting the opponent's Digimon, and then we get a gain memory for that deletion. And then if we're using Growlmon, we actually want to try to use his inheritable ability to deal some extra damage, and we could use WarGrowlmon to set up an extra body, that extra body being a Guilmon, to be able to use his inheritable ability to have something to actually sacrifice for us to deal that extra damage. So there is pretty decent synergy with all of our Growlmons interacting with our WarGrowlmons. I think that's the best WarGrowlmon that we're going to want to use is going to be the EX3, just because if we have enough cards in our trash and the opponent has enough cards in their trash, that allows us to either play out our Takato if it's not already set up, or play our Guilmon, and the best Guilmon we want to play is going to be the Rusher, so that way if there's enough cards in both of our trashes, then we could start being aggressive with this card right away. Even if we're not able to aggress with this card right away, we still have access at trying to utilize the on-delete Guilmon to help get us in in that particular trash position, or even at worst just to try to dig out some generic parts and pieces, we also have the EX2 Guilmon. So all of our Guilmons do have some really good synergy being played off of our WarGrowlmon. Then from this type of position, we're going to try to Digivolve into our Megidramon, so that way we could try to control the field, which again is why this card is so important. It allows us to try to Digivolve into our Megidramon a little bit more efficiently than the opponent might be anticipating, just because he does have a high Digivolution cost, and that's where win rate 60% also comes in handy as another way to reduce the Digivolution cost to make them as cheap as possible, while also putting our ChaosGallantmon into our trash, so that way we could use his ability from the trash to then delete our Megidramon at the end of our turn to possibly act as a good extender. So from this type of a position, hopefully our trash should be as full as it possibly can, because if we're going up our stack, we should have had 2 cards milled off of here, 3 cards milled off of here, and then 5 cards milled off of here. So both you and your opponent should be at least at 10 or more cards each, with the amount of mills that we are going to be doing when we're digivolving up our chain. So hopefully from here, we're going to start aggressing with our Megidramon. We're going to end our turn off in whatever fashion, whether it's using Blitz just because of Takato, or utilizing something else just to end our turn on. We're going to, at the end of our turn, delete our big stack with our ChaosGallantmon, and hopefully our ChaosGallantmon is going to try to delete a decently sized Digimon on the field because of his on-play ability that we're going to be triggering. And then we also have all of the on-delete abilities that we could use with our Megidramon, so that way we could replay a Guilmon, and the most ideal Guilmon, again, if we're able to gain enough memory and keep our turn, is going to be the Rush Guilmon, just because of all of the extra aggression that this card has. So that's kind of the whole general gist on how to utilize the deck. It is just build up into your Megidramon, make sure that you've milled enough cards, controlled the opponent's field, and had your setup good enough to be able to line up your ChaosGallantmon to just to delete the Megidramon after it swings and deals some decent damage, and have a body left over for us to use to then try to delete the opponent's Digimon. And that's why understanding the core or foundation for how the deck wants to play is going to be super important, so you know exactly how best to try to utilize your cards. And then with all of the various other tech and tools, you have even more customization options for the deck to really do some unique and interesting things. So as I already mentioned, we could run some more of a purple base, just because we do have the BT5 Guilmon line that does interact with wanting to be deleted and deleting your other Digimon, which is what ChaosGallantmon is trying to do to begin with. So we have his line, and as a good alternative level 5 Digimon, BlackWarGrowlmon is also another really good one for us to use, because the Digiburst is going to help fill up our trash, play that extra body, and have some ability for us to have some extra ways to be able to aggress. So there is just a lot of really interesting combo plays that the new parts and pieces are interacting with the old parts and pieces for various different color bases. Then if you're going for just generic 2-color synergy, then we also have the ability to try to support just wanting to delete our Megidramon in the form of Makomon, because its inheritable ability only cares about 2-color Digimon being deleted, and same thing with Maycrack, and we have cards to try to support that type of playstyle as well, which is really interesting because we also have Wisemon that could go inside of that, just having a good generic inheritable ability of blocker to pair up with our level 6 that we want to be deleted. Then as far as some other Megidramons that want to be deleted, we do have the BT5 one as another one. It doesn't count as a ChaosGallantmon, so it has less synergy, and it's not 2 colors, but the fact that it could play out any Gallantmon, and when you Digivolve, no matter what, it's always going to be milling 5, is still just really, really good, because we have some really interesting combo plays that we could do with this Megidramon, utilizing other normal base Gallantmons, or just other Gallantmons in general, like the brand new medieval Gallantmon, or just all of the other Gallantmons that we had before it. Then we do have access at a slew of different options to try to best support the deck, so we could run run Demonic Disaster for some more self-deletion and more aggression potential. We do have a whole bunch of different memory boosts that we could run because they're memory boosts and they allow us to do different things depending on the memory boost. We do have Calling from the Darkness for some more recyclability on our cards. Then we do have Megidramon Flame as another way to have a good way to try to delete our Digimon in case we don't want to do it with our ChaosGallantmon while still having lots of good value because it's also interacting with our Guilmons. Then we do have just another way to just generically mill in the form of Darkness Wave that also could help support the fact that you might want to include Maycrackmon and Makomon to better use their abilities with Megidramon. Then, as far as some other really decent tamers to think about, we do have Alice as another way to just try to sacrifice our Digimon while trying to reduce the cost of digivolving into our level 6 Digimon. And we even have the starter deck Matt that just is interacting with our Digimon being deleted generically as another good way to gain some extra memory. And again, depending on your build, you could still think about utilizing the BT12 Takato and some of the BT12 stuff just because they're all pretty good cards that we could still think about utilizing because of the Gallantmon, Growlmon, and Guilmon synergies we're already playing around with. So that's all I really have for this video. As always, feel free to tell me your thoughts down in the comments below, and down in the description below are a couple of different ways you could support me and the channel. So I do have a TCG Player affiliate link, so when you use that link to buy cards off of TCG Player, then some of that money will go to supporting me and the channel. I also do make and sell playmats over on Overcard Gamers on Facebook, so when you buy a playmat with my design, then some of that money will also go to help supporting me and the channel. And on top of all of that, I do have a Twitch account over on twitch.tv/Zenitsu, so giving me a follow and a subscription also helps support me there, and I do play Digimon on top of various other games on that platform as well. So thank you everyone for watching, and as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you in the next video.